Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is India Miles, success coach here with Cry But Don't Quit, um, interviewing my friend Angela Taylor Carter, who is a realtor, and she's speaking on behalf of those of you who are your business, especially in the game of real estate, how faith plays a part in that. So before we get into the interview, be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe to the channel, all things teaching Christian entrepreneurship, and let us know if there's any questions that arise as you are watching our discussion today. All right, Angela, welcome, welcome, welcome. Real quick, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to our viewers and telling them a little bit about how your faith intersects with your real estate business.
Well, India, first of all, thank you for having me here. I appreciate the connection. So I am a realtor in the state of Maryland. I'm also licensed in PA. And you ask, how does my faith interact and interchange with what I do? I believe in faith. Faith is all aspects of your life, not only in your family life, but you should be a representation of what you believe in your professional life. So the intersection is that, I'm praying without ceasing over my business as well as my family and household. So that's the intersection that what people see is they can see the God in me when I operate.
I love that. We have many discussions on that topic of because we as Christians are the representation of God in all places of our life. That is not lost on us when and how we conduct business. Can you give another Christian entrepreneur that so happens to be in the real estate industry some examples of what you have seen that's not so godly versus what you attempt to do or what God pricks your spirit to do differently?
Oh my, in business, period. We see that in the world every day, that people, so my thing and my thought pattern is that I always want to be the Samaritan, the one that's not going to walk over that person, that may be down on their luck. And I try to remind myself of that, but it's a cutthroat industry. And, I definitely, whoops, I'm sorry. Just staying true to who I am and not changing. We see this every day that people change once money is involved. You know, Peer pressure. Um, Sometimes in our work environments that can you can kind of pick up and absorb some of the behaviors and pattern. But I'm always Angela, and I'm determined to not let anyone change who I am. I'm here to help people, and I believe that's the genuine purpose that God has given me. I'm a helper.
Do you find that you because of your faith may go above and beyond than what's called from you? Can you give us an example of what that looks like?
Absolutely. So it's in helping, and we had this discussion because within my team they operate, it's business, so you don't go above and beyond, so to speak. So if you have a listing, helping your client, with this or that, you instruct your client to get this done. But sometimes there are people that just need some assistance, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. That's what you hired me for, is to provide my best to you. You're entrusting me and you're paying me a decent amount. So I feel like I have to give my each and every client, I'm going to give my all.
What does your all look like though? How does that separate you or kind of spell it out for us, maybe to plant a seed in someone that's watching spirit of like, oh, I could do that. What are some things that
My
you do that breaks
First
the
of all, it starts with a smile. It starts, you make people feel welcome when, you know, you approach them with a light, when you're bright and you're shining and you're energetic and you genuinely are interested in what they're saying. So you're not talking at them, you're talking to them. And I believe I saw one of your posts that talked about, it's not always you saying something, it's a point of listening. So, genuinely hearing what they have to say, what their intentions are or motivations are, for whatever aspect of real estate, whether it's listing or, they're a buyer client. And it's an emotional process for those participants in real estate. So I'm here to make it as comfortable, as easy, as less stressful as possible. So I just, it's your attitude
Mhm.
ultimately.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
mean, those things sound very similar to some customer service practices that
Oh,
we're supposed to uh practice in business. But what stands out to me from what you're saying is more of the integrity,
oh,
that those of us who are believers, like we live within that. We're supposed to live and practice that integrity, that concern for people's well-being, that pure intent, not just oh, I'm gonna list your price at whatever, whatever benefits me and my commission, so
right.
there's always the temptation to kind of be um tempted to do evil or do wrong by your customers that are trusting you to do right. So those are great things. Definitely your attitude, definitely making someone feel heard and showing a genuine concern for what their concerns are. All of that kind of comes back to what I'm always preaching about, being a servant's heart. That's something that my coach drilled in me. I can honestly say that I before I started coaching, I thought I had a servant's heart because I was always serving. I was always doing for kids at the high schools I spoke at, and community projects and all this stuff. But when you really boil down to why I was doing it, the intent behind doing it, it wasn't to be seen doing it. It was more filling a void of an unhealed place in my heart. So the more people, and maybe our viewers can relate to this, but here at Cry But Don't Quit, we talk about the journey, the entrepreneurial journey, and how that affects your spirit and how it can crush you sometimes. And you spoke
Right.
about that off camera, so I definitely want you to join in on that point.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember, when people would bruise my spirit, bruise my ego, it was fuel for my fire. It had a springboard effect. It was like the more you crush me, the more I would rise from those ashes as a phoenix and go forward. And I was celebrated for that. But what people don't see is that you may look like this phoenix to everyone else, but internally you have these shards of glass that are in your heart, and you never, they did damage going in and they do damage coming out. And if you never sit with that and feel those feelings, and you're always serving and always doing, then you can avoid that. And that's what I was doing, just subconsciously. I didn't know I was doing it, but that's what I was doing, was always trying to find someone else that was in crisis and let me help them to
Right.
distract me from my own stuff. And a lot of Christian, entrepreneurs do that.
Mhm.
That's why we run towards maybe the buyer who doesn't have the best credit or something. Like, we're
Right.
always running to the people who are in adversity, because we're always in adversity. So can you speak to that? Can you relate to that at all?
Oh my God. It's funny you say that because my mother was a giver,
Mhm.
and I attribute so a lot of my behavior to her behavior. Is just like I'll give it all away. If there's a need within a transaction, um, I'm going to my broker or manager. Can I just give them a credit? Let's just keep this going. Some of that definitely is true. I know for me, I have some clients. So, in the spectrum of real estate, you have low end buyers and you have, all the way up to $1 million clients.
Mhm.
Those that I don't want people to take advantage of any of my clients, but sometimes I feel like those that are on the lower end of that dollar don't really understand real estate. And then that's when I kind of go into that place where a protector. Like yes, it's time consuming. I may not make as much, but I don't want any. I see other realtors and how they just look at them as a technically, when you're in contract, there's two distinctions: a customer and a client. So once you sign a buyer broker agreement or whatever, a listing agreement, then you become a client, and there's a different distinction in how you're representing them or additional privileges under that client label. So for those buyers that don't really understand real estate or from a lower income, I do want to nurture them. And so for me, it's like in our community, um, we don't know all of the things that other communities do when it comes to finances and real estate. So I really see this as a tool to help lift a community if we truly understood the principles of ownership, and because this can then become generational wealth. So that's a portion of why I want to do this. I want to see our community taking advantage of generational wealth through real estate and eventually through investment in real estate. It's just, I am just a genuine giver, and I don't know how to turn that off sometimes. So does it kind of hurt me sometimes? Possibly, but I just love giving, and I know God sees it. And I always say this, or as I became stronger in faith, is that when that time comes, I want Him to say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." So yes, I have a serving spirit.
What's a little bit of advice that you would give to yourself or to someone like you when it comes to, you kind of mentioned giving to your detriment. What's if I felt in my spirit where a viewer is watching and it's just like, yep, that's me. What advice can you give her that will stop her from not putting
Woo.
enough value on her time, on
Mm,
giving to the wrong people? I mean, the Bible
yes,
talks about that, don't
right,
let us not cast our pearls among swine and give
right,
that which is holy to the dogs. Like, this is biblical. So God understands
right.
the heart of a giver. With me, I still to this day, I probably, if I'm being honest, I don't consider myself a giving person. I don't. It's really hard to be a business person and think the way I think and have the mind that I have. I see sales and everything and not understand the quantification of something free. Like, every business model right now starts with a freebie, free time, free consultation. If I'm being honest and transparent, I've got too much business training in me to know that even when I'm attempting to give something away for free, it's always going to circumvent. Something good is going to come from it, and I know that I'm aware of that. I can't remove that awareness, but people who know me would not consider that, because other things that I do in the dark. I text people, I check on them, I pray for people. I give
Mhm.
a lot of free coaching that, I can't help myself. If I see somebody struggling, I just go in there and I'm like, hey, hop on a call with me. Like, don't even worry about payment. I don't, I can't help but care about those things. But when it comes to my business and getting paid, I have no qualms about it. But there's a lot of givers out there that really have a lot of guilt around charging. Speak to that, Angela. What advice would you?
Yes. Um, yes, that is so true. That is, it's prevalent in my life and in business, because as a giver, yes, you do. You sometimes give it all away
Mhm.
with no return. Um, so you don't want to be that person that have to learn it over time, but I feel like I'm that person that's learning over time. When to pull back, when to give, or learning how to give so that it's still received as, genuine and fruitful, but you do it in a way that is in line with business. So that is a tough thing for me because, like I said, I give it all away, but over time you learn. So the key thing for me, um, right now in giving, is learning when to stop, when to say no. Because I'll get a call, take this person out, and you really should just pull back. You got a lot going on, and you will end up overwhelming yourself. But you say, yes, yes, I'll take that person out. Or, the client that you have that, wants to go at an unreasonable time or calls at the last minute. So the key, I think, is learning how to balance no in the equation, and knowing that it's okay to say no. So that's one of the things, that's one of my struggles that I continue to work with. But as time progresses, as transactions happen, I'm starting to understand that. And I think as a newer agent, or, just getting in the business, you do have to learn how you fit in, where you fit in, and how you're going to function. So yes, you're going to probably do a lot of things in the beginning that a senior agent may not. And as you have transactions, as you interact with people, as you grow with regards to mentorship, and see how other people operate and navigate in your business, and then learning to not feel guilty. That's the key part of saying no. Um, that's really big for me, because there is a guilt behind, I'm a people pleaser.
Mhm.
And that's one of my, while it's good on in some aspects, it's a detriment in other aspects, because I'm always feeling compelled to say yes.
Mhm.
So
Or
that
compelled, or
Mhm.
compelled to do. That's
do.
the piece that I believe, because of our biblical teachings, our the ministries that we belong to, and you can
Mm,
look in the Bible yourself, and it tells us to value others more than ourselves, to put others
mm,
before
mm.
ourselves, be a servant, to make us ourselves lowly.
Right.
But it also says in the Bible to let your light shine, to be a promoter of good, to be this bold and courageous person. And balancing those two things, it really requires us to self-analyze. What is your intent? I was listening to Oprah on YouTube yesterday, or the other day, and she has this it's like, best 10 minutes to start your morning or something, this little motivational speech she gave, and they clipped it down to 10 minutes. And what she was saying in the speech was, you got the people who want everybody else to see them in church putting the money in the collection plate, and then you have the people who have very little, but because their intent is great, they
Mhm.
get the greater reward out of that which they give, because you know the intent behind the person who has plenty and putting that money in there is so that everyone else can see it, and that feels good to their pride. The person who has very little, but they're like, look, I really want to give this to God, I'm grateful, and they have that intent in their heart. And it's the same reason why, what is our intent behind why we're giving? Is our intent to be seen? Is our intent to promote ourselves? Is our intent, I had to search my heart after I watched that. I said, and she said that she searched her heart, and that's why she changed up everything on her show, because Oprah was known for giving away cars and giving away books and giving away. And we want to believe that she was doing those things because she's a benevolent and philanthropist person, but she knows the truth, that before maybe she was doing that because she understood the principle of giving. She understood that garnered trust. She understood that was free promotion, not just giving, but if you give something like that, a car, to somebody, imagine how many more people they're running around telling, oh my gosh, Oprah gave me this car. So we all know that. And somewhere inside of us, you have the people who don't trust the giver. They feel like, oh, there's a gimmick, there's something behind it. I wrestle with that. I wrestle with, okay, God, don't make my heart harden. I enjoy giving. Yes, there were times I was doing it because it was medicine to my soul. I had to know that I was doing something good on behalf of somebody else, because that's what I could control in this world. I could control giving somebody else joy. I couldn't control what happened to me. So there was some selfishness in that transaction. But after I listened to Oprah saying that, I searched my heart on, there's a lot of people right now that are like, I need Instagram content. I need social media content. Let me go out here and do this event for my clients. Let me go out here and do this open house so that I can take pictures, and I can be seen with my clients, and I can be promoting myself. And that is a truth bomb for us entrepreneurs, that it can very easily become about us, even when we think we are giving to others. And then we sit back and wonder, why are any clients coming in? The law
Right.
of attraction means whatever the intent is in your heart, the reasons behind why you're doing it, that is what you reap. You reap what you sow. That is what the Bible tells us about. Can you speak to that?
Oh gosh, I love that. That is my heart. Um, and I'm seeing it play out in my life today. Yes, it's a slow start, but when you're intentional, so you have to be intentional about keeping your mind stayed in your faith on Christ. You have to be intentional about what you're thinking, what you allow as your thought patterns. And this year, I think I became more I'm not going to say I think, I did become more intentional about those things from, through my affirmations. And I think, I know that people really genuinely see that I am, sincere in everything that I do. Um, and when I strive to be a 5-star agent, and if you look me up, you'll see that I do get those reviews that are 5-star. But the thing is, I don't do it for myself. I want the next person that sees that review to see that I'm genuinely going to give you all I can in your transaction, and you can trust me. So it started in my mind, um, thinking small. This year I had to be, you want something, then you have to be intentional about what that thing is. I wanted to be more of I wanted to be a listing agent, to have more listings. So I started shaping my confessions and recognizing that God wants me to be a listing agent. I just have to open myself up to receive that. And what's happening now? I'm getting phone calls. So when you are, I think the universe is giving me, not the universe, God is giving me, um, I know they say that and I try to cross that out. it's God. It's God. He's looking out for you. He wants his best for you. And it's happening in my life. It may be a slow pace, but I thank God for every dribble, because I know the dribble will eventually, the faucet will just overflow in my life. And I'm going to be intentional about giving back. I'm going to be intentional about how I treat people. I'm going to be intentional about the growth in my life, because my growth would then encourage someone else. And that's ultimately what I want to do. I want somebody to see me, this shy. Well, I'm not shy, but I always say that I'm shy because of my upbringing. I had a abusive father who, I guess in his abuse, it kind of silenced you, like what you're saying doesn't matter. So you then start to play small. You don't step up, you don't talk, speak up. And that's a struggle for me, is being clear, speaking with clarity, express, you know, being specific in my expressions. But as we mature, God gives us the ability to overcome those fears. So that speaking is a huge fear for me, but I have to put that on the back burner, because this is something that I was called to, and I know that um, the joy that I get in doing this, I know this is what I was called to do, is to be in position to help people. And real estate right now is the vehicle. Do I believe that there's other things that I need to pull myself up and release the fear, let go of the fear to be doing it? I believe I could be helping a lot more people, but there's still that little piece of fear that won't allow me to fully let Angela come into to view
I,
of.
I completely agree. I mean, you make me think of all the intentions. That was um our word for the year in our mastermind group this year, was being intentional. And a lot of people set resolutions at the beginning of the year, and what we set was intentions. And a big intention for me was to build genuine friendship. And it was really hard. Like, it's not been going great. Um, but it turned the corner probably right after we met up in Baltimore. My intention wasn't just to meet all these new people, that I have things in common with. I had a block around mixing business and personal. I kept business connections over here, personal connections over there. So meeting up with you in Baltimore, and going to Amanda's wedding, that was a big step for me. That was a big healing step for me, because I was prophesied to a few weeks before that, by a girl that was there, that was just like, India, you are compartment, like you're keeping people out that God is allowing in. And I had to be intentional about confronting
Mm.
some rules that I set for myself to protect myself, you know, confronting those and really understanding why I set them. I was justified in setting them. I starting business in Richmond, Virginia. I was really crucified often. I was really ostracized. I was really, you know, mocked. And you know, I was new at everything that I was doing. So I was very vulnerable, and people instead of showing me kindness, showed me judgment. And again, like I said, it built me up, but internally I had these, you know, knives in my heart that, you know, I didn't even, you know, so much time goes by, you don't even realize that they're still there. But then you get into a new season, like the season I'm in now, you meet new people.
Right.
They can see that. They can see the walls. They can see, oh, I'm based in Richmond and you don't want to come here, and the things that you say and the boundaries that you set. And it's blocking your own blessing and the being a blessing to the people that you literally are setting these intentions around serving. Another thing that your point made me think of was being intentional about receiving love. We Christian female entrepreneurs are really thoughtful, generous, helpful, strong women.
Right.
Horrible about asking for help. Horrible. I'm a coach. I literally give free text and email access to every single one of my clients. Not one of them takes it. Just don't ask for help. It's in our DNA. We wear it as a badge of honor of like, oh, you know, I talked to God about this. Oh, God was just dealing with me on that. But we don't really practice the understanding of knowing that the very thing that we need help in is part of our ministry to the people that we're sharing it with. If we were to call, you know, picking on you, Angela, if you were to call me and say, India, I could really use your help today. I've been battling with trying to figure out this social media thing all week long. I just need somebody to talk to. It does something for our soul because it makes us humble. It makes us practice going to God for help, not petitioning God, not operating in this space of I'm the expert in our lives, but putting us in that childlike place that God tells us to be in when he says that the child, like, you know, will inherit the earth. When we are willing to admit that to ourselves, we don't know it all, we get to be helped. And imagine how dependent a child is. You know, they can't do anything themselves. Meanwhile, here we are saying, oh, we know the mind of God. Oh, God did this like this in a former season. He'll do it just like that in this season. That doesn't cause us to rely on God, God's voice in this season. It doesn't cause us to have to rely on each other. And, you know, just this week, I decided that I was going to be intentional about letting these newfound friends, the ones that are super generous, givers scare me because
Think it's something.
well, the reason why I wasn't having much success with making friends,
Right.
you know, and I made up all these stories, but the reality was I wasn't putting myself in the women's shoes. Here it is, you have this phenomenal, you know, force of a Christian entrepreneur, referring to myself, DMing you, messaging you. What the heck does she want? You know, just that, you know, that I never looked at it through their lens. That's why God tells us to be wise as a serpent, as gentle as a dove, because anybody that's coming from you in a business standpoint, even if they want to be friends or whatever, you're waiting on the gimmick. You're waiting on, okay, what does she want? You know, she's trying to sell me something, whatever. So you're on guard. And then if you multiply that by now she's coming and saying that she's a preacher of the gospel too, I really don't trust her. Like she sells stuff and she's, you know, so if and if you're dealing with a wounded population of Black women who've been hurt, who've been betrayed, who are still navigating through their own brokenness, this was the first week I started looking at it from their point of view, and I decided to stop going in messengers, going to. I decided to start sourcing. Let me start being the woman that is friendable. Let me start including myself in things that I'm interested in. Let me be intentional about letting those givers love on me instead of me feeling like I owe them something, or let me do something equally nice or nicer for them. And it's this competition of like, because I'm sourcing all that energy. Every time I do something nice, somebody else is competing with me to try to outdo me instead of just receiving. That's because that was the guards on my heart. So it was such an amazing breakthrough. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to being intentional about, you know, as a Christian entrepreneur and realtor, asking for help in your industry, going to your mentors, going to those senior agents? Or do you just sit in your stubbornness and say, hey, I'll figure this out, I don't want to burden anybody? Like, how do you navigate through that part of, yeah, you're the giver, but how well do you receive?
Whew, listening to you say that, receiving, that's tough. Um, and I don't know, I'm trying to pinpoint where that breakdown, um, the point of learning how to receive. Because we're always like, no, you don't have to do that. But that's such a, when we allow other people to give to us, that's a blessing on that side for them. And if we continue to not receive their gift, their opportunity, we're blocking their blessing. But for me, it's like, I don't know if we were taught that we were being a burden. If we ask, I think I've seen, interviews where, you think back in the days you were supposed to be seen and not heard. So, especially in our community, or maybe that was a teaching of that time. But I believe that had we not had the opportunity to learn, like you weren't taught to fail. So failing is a hard thing in our community, or just as older adults. And now the young people, I think, are getting it. They're being raised a different way. But it is definitely hard to receive. It's hard for me to ask for help. Now, in real estate, I have to, because that's contractual. But there are times within that situation, maybe I need some advice how to handle a certain situation, or a client's demeanor, or some aspect in there that is not related to the contractual part. Marketing, you brought up marketing and social media. I struggle with that. And I don't ask for help. And so where I'm sitting and wasting time, not wasting time, but spending an extra amount of time, if I just, sought the help, how should I approach this? Or what's your approach to social media? So it is learning how to ask. The saying is ask not, have not. And I try to remember that, and I try to implement that, but it's still a struggle for me. I don't know how to ask. I'm that type of person. Sometimes I laugh, and, like when you're driving and you get lost and you won't ask for help, you're just going to figure it out. And that's typically, we usually say a man will do that. Well, I'm that type of person. I'm going to I'm not going to stop for help. I'm going to figure this out. But 20 minutes later, or 30 miles later, getting to a destination 10, 15 minutes late, because I refuse to, we're our own detriments with regards to asking. That's a piece that's also a struggle. And if you learn how to ask early, if you learn systems, processes early, you will be ahead of the game. Because in real estate, they say by the third year, you're picking up momentum. The seventh year, you should have your network and people that know you. So you really, if you start early, learning to ask, learning to find resources, learning to partner with people that are already doing. So that's another thing. Whatever you're doing, someone else has already done it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Line up. As long as they line up with your principles, your integrity. You may have to work with people that are outside of faith, but genuinely, we all have some aspects of being genuinely good or in line with our principles. So you need to find people early to sync up with, that will help you in business. And you never know, those connections, like you said, the separation of business and pleasure, there's that stigmatism around that. But sometimes in business, you meet great friends. And in those friendships, you both, whoever's in that circle, You both can encourage, hold each other accountable because you understand the business you're in, but you also add sprinkle a little bit of friendship, care, concern, and love in that mix. So it's nice to have people that are where you want to be or doing what you want to do, that are in your circle, so you both can grow together. That's key for me. We should be growing, every step of the way. We should see some kind of growth in what we do, and I believe we do it together. We're better together than apart.
Mm-hmm. No, I come across a lot of entrepreneurs in this space. It was the same way before I got into the Christian entrepreneurship space. Come across a lot of people, men and women. We just, if there is anything that I can attribute to my success as a human being, because I was abandoned at 16, I would not have made it this far if I did not open up my mouth and ask for help. I remember there has not been a season in my life where I even attempted to try to figure it out myself. I always had the understanding, because I'm the youngest grandchild, I'm the youngest sibling. I was always able to study people older than, you know what I'm saying? So it just makes sense. It's like, why waste the time giving myself a headache? If I want to learn, it's free. There's a free, like, and I'll give you an example of that. This morning, I'm learning art. Like, I want, I'm a painter, you know what I'm saying? And I've been wanting to do it professionally for years. And I've been afraid of the canvas and afraid of the commitment, because I have such a respect for people who are at this, like, executive level with it. And I desire to be there one day, but I'm like, I haven't even started. You know what I'm saying? If I don't even start, then how do I get to that level? And this morning, while I'm on the treadmill, I text two of the best artists I know. One went to Virginia State University. He's got he paints home furnishings. Like, he takes his artwork, he puts it on canvas, and then he makes a print out of it, and then he makes shower curtains, or he makes lamps, and he sells out on Amazon. Phenomenally successful. And he's got a marriage ministry, so we just became friends over the years. I asked him to teach a class. I was like, hey, would you mind teaching an art class for me, my mentee, my nanny, the girl that comes and helps me with my kids? She's an aspiring artist. She's looking to me to help her become a Christian entrepreneur. I'm looking at her like, girl, you doing what I want to do with the painting. So last night, I she didn't come right out and ask me for help, but it was just weighing on my spirit of, like, God, I need her to ask. I need her. I mean, I'm carrying her burden. This is her burden. And that scares me, because my strong personality, I'll end up dragging her if this is not her season. I'll end up putting her in rooms she's not ready for.
Right.
I've done that before. I've done it with my husband. I've done it with other artists, other creatives, other entrepreneurs. I'm very slow and cautious to help those who are not asking for it. That's one coaching principle that I love, that, like, if they're not ready to receive, it, because there's friction, there's resistance, they're not responding, and you invite them, and all of these limits and beliefs come up. Oh my gosh, I'm not ready. I don't look good. To me, my mind, I'm like, okay, she's not ready. I'm gonna keep moving. But my season right now of asking for help. So I text him, asked him if he could do a class. He agreed, and the very first next thought was, dang, I should pay him. He didn't ask for payment. I didn't offer it. But that's the self-worth issues of, like, let me not allow somebody to do it for free. Now ask me in return. If somebody would have texted me, somebody would have asked me, India, will you come and teach a class? And it was somebody I know, or something, I wouldn't even think about payment, because it's such a closeness to a passion of mine. Or if God led me to ask for payment, I would ask. That's the standard that I am holding the people in my life to now, where if you don't offer, I don't offer. There is no small clause unless the Holy Spirit, and God has been dealing with me on that principle all week of, like, sometimes we get into the routine of giving. We get into the routine of serving. We get into this routine of, this is just who we are expecting ourselves to be, that breaking out of that mold feels scary. It feels uncomfortable. And that is where our growth gets to happen. We are always being generous people. We are always first to give. Don't even worry about payment. Why are we not allowing people to do that? We're the first person to offer our help. Why are we not allowing ourselves to ask for the help that we need? Why are we suffering? Why are we allowing ourselves to be in bondage by this, to the point where the enemy can come in and say, oh, you can't do that. Why do you think you could do that? But if you ask for help and somebody can show you like, oh, you could definitely do that, and encourage you a little bit, coach you a little bit, support you a little bit through it. All I want this guy to show me how to do is how to draw hands and faces. That's it. I just want the basics. You know, I don't have to go enroll in school. I don't have,
Right.
you know, if he wants some money for that, if I can afford it, but it's humility. And it's our pride that keeps us from being in that active humility of like, hey, not so much, oh, I'm the humble servant that doesn't ask for money or ask for anything, but you also get to humble yourself to receive help. That's another form of humility. So God shows me the duality of these principles. Humility is not just going around, you know, in this lowly state. It's also humbling your pride enough to say, you know what, God, I could really use some help. Another example of this is writing for these interviews. I asked God to bless my hands. I said, God, please give me the anointing to write at a professional level, at an editorial level. I don't have the skill. God promises us in our word, if we ask for it and the intent in our heart aligned with what he wants us to do, he will bless us with the ability. I kid you not. Every article I've written for this whole interview series, every single one of them is editorial style. And I'm watching it unfold. I'm like, wow. And I set intentions at the beginning of this year. Even if I had to go back to school, I said I wanted to become a better writer because there was a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a spirit of discouragement on the way I wrote my book. You know, just I don't like the way it's written, and God won't let me go back. I wrote it 6 years ago. I want to go back in there and edit it and pretty it up. God won't let me do it because it's a testament to starting where you are, trusting God with it, and it keeps me humble. It keeps me humble. I mean, I've got amazing people taking my course and things like that. And every time I send in the book, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm like, oh, they're gonna crack this book open. They're gonna think I'm an idiot. They're like, girl, this girl's selling this. Like, I could write something better than this. I hate that, but it's part of God's process because I get to testify on all the spiritual principles that book embodies, not just what's on the pages, but what the experience was like for me. And that sets somebody else free. They're like, oh my gosh, India, you're speaking to me. Oh my gosh, Angela, you are like, the way I see framing this interview out in the actual article is talking about when giving is too much as a Christian entrepreneur, when it's to your detriment. Know that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, but especially as a realtor, you are your business. It costs you business or it costs you money when you spend so much time with the wrong clients. When you won't ask the right clients, you know, you won't even ask. You won't say, hey, you know, can I at least talk to you about my business? You know, all of that's in the same principle of asking. Yes. We won't even ask for somebody to support our business. We won't even ask for their ear. We won't even ask them for their time. And we constantly give, thinking, oh, if I give enough, they'll value it. No, they won't. No, they won't. They'll just keep taking. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Love it. And then you sit around and you're sitting in resentment. Then you're sitting around in guilt. Then you're sitting around and like, dang, man, you know, what's going on? What's going on is you're not being a better steward of who you are giving it to. That wisdom part is so important. It's supposed to be fruitful. If you give to somebody through the leading of the Holy Spirit, then you get the reward at the end of it. Maybe it's a spiritual lesson. Maybe it's a business lesson. Maybe it's, you know, God shuts that door quickly so that you can move on. But when you're giving in your own strength, that's when you feel depleted. That's when you feel resentful. That's when you feel like, dang, don't nobody value me. That's when adversary starts coming in and playing on your self-worth. So thank you, Angela. Thank you for sharing that. Can you, before we go, can you share with our viewers, a little bit more viewers, if you have not already, like, follow, share, subscribe to Insight by India here on YouTube, where I am teaching Christian entrepreneurship. If you can drop in the comments under this video, any questions, any amen, sisters, anything to just let us know if this message is landing for you. Angela, please let our viewers know how to get in touch with you, how to support you, how to link arms with you on your journey as you become, you know, that top listed agent in Maryland.
India, thank you. You are such a blessing. So, of course, my full name is Angela Taylor Carter. I am a realtor with right now the Bob and Rana Group. We are a part of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, PenFed Realty. As I stated, I am based in Maryland. Ellicott City is my home office, but I service most of Maryland and Southern Pennsylvania. you can reach me on social media just by my name, Angela Taylor Carter, or my catchphrase, or what's um, special to me, or how I see I do business is partner with Angela Realtor. So you can find me those ways. And if you just type in my name in any platform, Google, you'll find me. But yes, I thank you for this opportunity, India. I see your growth, and I just love you, and I appreciate all that you pour out into your community. You are definitely a blessing.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Angela, and thank you for trusting me with your story. Thank you for allowing me to bring your success onto this platform through the Cry But Don't Quit blog. You know, this has been just an amazing experience overall. Like, I just feel warm and fuzzy just being able to finally have these discussions around something that's near and dear to my heart. It's not just
Right.
about furthering business, but it's furthering the kingdom assignment through the marketplace. If the vehicle that God gave you was your business, to bring a smile, bring light, bring love, bring the word of God to your clients and to your
That's it.
partners, and just being in these industries so that we can be the disruptors and the standard by which God wants us to operate, then we're doing our part. And I'm doing my small part in celebrating you. So thank you. Thank you for all of what you do, those things that are thankless, that people don't see, people don't appreciate. We appreciate you, Angela. And just stay connected to this Cry But Don't Quit community so that you don't ever think that you're out here solo. You're not.
Right.
We're
Girl, I'm
all
gonna learn how to ask.
Let's ask. Let's ask. Me too. Me too. Me too.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and look out for the article. This interview will be shared in that. And again, just remember to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.